Hello, everyone. The year is 2026. The moment the world has been waiting for is finally approaching. It is the news of BTS resuming full group activities. With the news that the 7 emperors, having completed their military service, are returning to the stage, the hearts of armies across the globe have begun to race again. The anticipation is particularly unimaginable among fans in Japan, the closest neighboring country. It's just a 2-hour flight. To witness their historic return in Seoul, countless fans are already searching for tickets to Korea. However, it didn't take long for that excitement to turn into rage. A war scarier than the ticketing war has broken out: the accommodation crisis. News has spread that hotel prices in downtown Seoul are skyrocketing around the concert dates. But worse, reports are emerging of predatory practices, so-called gutsy business, where hotels are unilaterally notifying fans with confirmed bookings of reservation cancellations, only to resell those same rooms at several times the original price. Should the pure love of fans inevitably become a hostage to commercialism? How are Japanese netizens viewing this situation? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Déjà vu: memories of Arashi and history repeating. The very first reaction that stands out is a sense of déjà vu. One Japanese netizen seeing this BTS hotel situation recalled an event that shook Japan in the past. A similar thing happened recently when Arashi announced their final concert. No matter how much you sugarcoat it, if hotels know there are people willing to book, even at high prices, they will absolutely raise the rates. This comment points to a very important point. Who is Arashi? They are Japan's national idols, a legendary group whose mere announcement of a hiatus shook the Japanese economy. During their final concerts, hotels around the Sapporo Dome soared to 10 or even 20 times their usual prices. This netizen is saying, hotels never make a losing deal. They know from experience that when demand overwhelmingly exceeds supply, capitalism reveals its cruelest face. However, there is an important caveat attached to this comment. It points out an act that crosses the line. However, unilaterally canceling a reservation that has already been confirmed and then jacking up the price is illegal, no matter how you think about it. It might be common in Korea, but I hope we haven't fallen that low. Dozens of people agreed with this. They try to understand price increases through the logic of capitalism. After all, it's natural for prices to rise when demand explodes. But they draw a firm line at the act of breaking a confirmed promise, that is, unilateral cancellation. Behind the phrase, "it might be common in Korea," lies a subtle distrust and concern regarding Korea's reservation culture or legal binding force. Is this merely prejudice, or is it a reality we need to painfully accept? Chapter 2. No Atodashi: acting after the fact. Trust as capital. Let's examine another netizen's opinion. This person very clearly divides the acceptable range from the unacceptable range. Cases where the hotel unilaterally cancels a confirmed reservation and then resells it at a higher price, this is totally out. Fluctuating prices according to reservation status is okay, but canceling reservations is not allowed. The expression Atodashi Hochushi used here is interesting. It refers to the foul play in rock, paper, scissors, where you wait to see what the opponent throws before playing your hand. In other words, they are defining the act of hotels accepting reservations at a low price, realizing the immense popularity later, secretly annulling that promise, and reattaching a high price tag as cowardly foul play. Following this netizen adds a quite sharp, perhaps painful point for us. Because it's a country that applies retroactivity, which is taboo even in law, it might not feel strange there. This sentence goes beyond simply criticizing hotels and reflects a certain perception within Japan. Regarding Korean society as a whole, the perception is that situational logic takes precedence over legal stability, or the trust of a contract. This is being projected even onto the highly personal consumer activity of hotel bookings, a cynical sarcasm mixed with resignation. Because it's Korea? Maybe that's possible. Can we just dismiss this as anti-Korean sentiment? Or are the actions of some accommodation providers who don't meet global standards tarnishing the national image? Chapter 3. The boundary between supply and demand and morality. Of course, not all Japanese netizens are just criticizing Korea. The voices of very cold-hearted free market advocates also exist. Let's look at a comment from user Mike. Unilateral cancellation is out of the question, but raising prices is generally done. It's not like they are being tricked into trading at a high price with an understanding of supply. And demand is not called a ripoff. Other netizens also added similar opinions. Isn't it okay to raise prices somewhat? Theme. Parks also get expensive during peak season. The problem is reselling after raising the price. Their logic is clear. Dynamic pricing. Airline tickets, hotels, and even Uber taxis. Increase in price when demand surges. This isn't a trick, but a market principle. Their view is that if fans are willing to pay that price, it's a valid transaction. But here, we must ask an important question. I can understand price hikes, but the rate of increase is abnormal. On top of this, ticket prices and merchandise costs are high. I think it's a business that pokes at fan psychology. To call it a market principle, the rate of increase defies common sense. A phenomenon where a room that usually costs 100,000 won becomes 1 million or 2 million won. Is this truly a legitimate supply and demand curve, or is it violence holding desperate fan devotion hostage? Even if some degree of increase is unavoidable, there has to be a limit. It's impossible for the inflation rate to have a different number of digits. A tense atmosphere flows between these comments. The cold reason of "if you don't like it, just don't go" clashes with the passionate emotion of "still, isn't this too much?" Chapter 4. Are K-pop fans' wallets bottomless pits? Another point to note in this controversy is that it's not just about hotel costs. The burden of the total cost that fans have to bear is evident throughout the comments. Ticket prices are also high, going from 25,000 yen to 45,000 yen. I realize that standing K-pop means the digits in the amount of money are different. One ticket costs over 45,000 yen approx. 300 USD. Add airfare and the controversial hotel. Costs of hundreds of thousands of won per night. If coming for a 3-day, 2-night concert trip, the structure easily breaks 2 to 3 million won per person. Fans pay these costs out of love. But the moment that love is treated like they are cash cows, that love turns into a sense of betrayal. A business that pokes at fan psychology. This might be the most painful warning the entertainment and tourism industries need to hear right now. With K-culture successful globally, fans are not blind followers. They are rational consumers, and they are beings who can turn their backs on injustice at any time. Chapter 5. What is the government doing? In this chaos, there is another interesting comment. It expands this issue to a national level. Japanese tourist spots also manipulate prices similarly. They lower prices when Chinese tourists don't come, but canceling arbitrarily is wrong. I don't know if it will be effective, but the fact that the Korean president issues a statement means that at least it's not something the whole country is plotting together, right? This comment implies two things. First, self-reflection that Japan is the same. It acknowledges that price gouging in tourist areas is not just a Korean problem, but a global phenomenon. Second, a glimmer of expectation regarding the Korean government's response. In fact, the Korea Consumer Agency and local governments launch inspections of accommodation businesses whenever there is a large-scale event. However, it has always been pointed out that enforcement power is lacking. From the perspective of Japanese fans, the very gesture of the Korean government stepping forward to say, "we will respond strictly," is evaluated positively. It gives a sense of relief that at least this isn't a state-sponsored fraud. But what matters isn't words, but results. Were the canceled reservations actually restored? Were unfair prices corrected? Without these results, the government's statement will be nothing more than an empty echo. Chapter 6. For a sustainable Hallyu Korean wave. We have looked into the flip side of the lodging cost controversy surrounding the BTS concert through the short comments of Japanese netizens. To summarize the reaction of Japanese fans, it is this. We understand it being expensive, but we cannot forgive breaking promises. This is not simply a matter of money. It is a matter of trust. What image should we show to guests who cross the ocean? Because they love Korea and want to see BTS, sending a message the morning after a fan falls asleep excited about their confirmation email, saying cancellation notification, followed by book again at a higher price? That is an act that gnaws away at the future of Korean tourism. The fact that hotel prices also went up in Japan after tour announcements is no consolation. The logic that others do it so we can too does not work. As a country that has produced world-class artists, shouldn't we possess a viewing culture and an attitude towards guests that matches that dignity?